If you're starting or growing a clothing brand, your designs and marketing is key to success. But with advancements in AI and an influx of new brands popping up every day through social media, the competition is getting harder every day. Now, some of the most common reasons I've seen brands fail over the years is because no one wants to buy what you made. This leads to you to not getting any results and just quitting. And oftentimes this is really caused by not having a long-term vision or a game plan for your brand, because let's face it guys, it was never authentic to you to begin with. So in this video, I want to help you build a foundation and peel back some of the education you're going to need to succeed. And I'm actually in here, I'm actually at Mike's studio. So we're going to be diving into some of the important things that you need so your brand doesn't fail. So get ready to take some notes.
What's good? I'm Mike Leisure. I'm an artist and I'm an art director. I work with skate, streetwear, men's contemporary, athletic wear, shoes, and film. I get to work with so many amazing brands that craft their stories and create collections that are just mind-blowing. They are just so great because they have great designers behind them. They're attentive to detail. They have this passion for the craft and storytelling. What that's allowed me to do is really watch how they work, and that gave me insight to what makes brands great. So PSA, I am not a fashion designer. Since we made this video in 2020, a lot of people have this misconception of what I do. I don't design clothing. What I do is work in that phase where we take it from where it was created and then into the marketing portion where it goes out to the people. What I do is I work to bring these collections to life in the marketing phase. I'm gonna be going over surface level ideas and some deep-rooted issues that can help change the trajectory of your brand and improve you as a designer. Don't just be another person selling clothes. Okay, so a real brand sells you a feeling, an experience, not just an article of clothing. As a beginner, most people will flock to these tools, and in the beginning, it's just really not a good idea for you because you're not ready for it. What are we talking about? Number one, print on demand. God damn, it's in demand. It's very appealing because you can just upload a design, right? What print on demand does is it opens the door for so many people to just start. And that's great if you know what you're doing, but if you don't, and you have no direction, people just do whatever. So I have 30 designs that I want to upload now, and it's like, I can't have a store. But what happens is people show up and it just looks confusing. Like, I don't know what your brand is. You just have a lot of designs. It's just the attention to what you're trying to do and the intention that's gonna set you apart. So yes, the tool exists, but just know what you're doing before you're doing it. And of course, there's so many reasons for why you can use it, but just be aware. Okay. The other issue that I'm looking at is people who are self-made. In a lot of ways, that definition sounds amazing. You can just do things yourself. But when the cost of printers and heat presses have gone down, it makes it so much more accessible for everybody. Accessibility is beautiful. I love that you can just make clothes from the comfort of your home. Just go out, get some blanks, get your transfer sheets, print your design out, and just go. But the problem with that is that if you're not as dedicated or persistent as you need to be, people's consistency goes off. Logos are off by an inch or here, or you don't understand how long it needs to be pressed for. And so it goes through the wash 1 or 2 times, and then your design is falling off. That's okay sometimes, but if you start mass producing at this level, what do you do when you have hundreds of people who are upset because your design's gone, right? You have to be consistent and pay attention to these things and really test things before you really go big. You being able to do it yourself actually pushes away the professionals in the industry who would actually tell you, this isn't a good idea. Maybe the design shouldn't be this big. Maybe that graphic that you're putting on the hat at home could be an inch or two smaller, and that's the difference between making you look like an amateur or a professional. So if you're gonna be making stuff at home, just make sure things are consistent, you are very attentive to detail, your quality is up to par with what it should be, and you're not gonna be having upset customers once it gets shipped out. The next tool, I'm sure you've seen it, AI. AI can do so many things. It's so powerful. The prompt can just take you anywhere you want to go. The words that you're using will just boom, materialize into a design. The problem with AI is that it's a baby right now, and so are you. To me, AI is able to take everything that it has on the internet and turn it into something that you're telling it to do. They just happen to be pretty good at what they're doing. They just don't understand why they're doing it. And you're the person who's supposed to understand why. Without the right taste level, you could go from dope to corny really fast. So what you need to do is up your personal skill and know what you're looking for to be able to turn that design into something that's finished and actually works with your brand instead of just something that looks cool by itself. All of this to say, you need to figure out what your brand is and up your skill level before you go out and utilize these powerful tools. Imagine handing a toddler a power drill and saying, build me a house. Like, that just doesn't work, right? Your brand is your house. The interior is the experience. The exterior is how you market it. And you have to be ready to intake all of the responsibilities before owning a home. The second thing that I see being such a huge problem is people over-branding without having a real brand. This is an issue that starts because brands are launching and they're not fully developed. I'm not saying don't do it because you don't have to be perfect, but at least know where you're going and have something. What do I mean by over-branding without having a real brand? Let's take this for example. You just made your logo. You take it out and then you need to explain what your logo is. And, there's meaning behind every part that you had just done and it needs the explanation because your deep ideas are so deep and they have meaning and you know what I mean? Like you're doing too much to explain what the thing is without having what it really is inside of the design. Your logo does not replace an entire collection. Your brand and your collection is a conversation. And if you're gonna say something, say it through your design. Say it through your pieces. Each part of it is a part of a sentence, a part of a paragraph. If you're writing this story, it needs to be cohesive and it needs to be intentional. If your brand is to be a part of the conversation, let the clothing speak for itself. Stop explaining every single piece because if you have to, maybe the design is not that good. To avoid lack of depth and theme in all of your collections, explore your ideas, find the common spaces in between and then link them together. So stop making drops that look like this. This is just amateur. It is not looking good. This just shows me that you don't know what you're doing. You might have just launched, congratulations to you, but we really need to tighten this up. See, I think a big issue is overusing brand colors. I come from a generation that was raised on Diamond or Supreme, right? We see a lot of the reds, we see the Tiffany blue, and we think, oh my God, they have such a memorable experience in their branding. As soon as you see it, you think of that brand. What are we seeing now? We're seeing Yeezy, right? We're seeing Fear of God. And what has happened in the past 3 to 4 years is we're seeing a lot of neutrals. Neutral tones, you got the browns, the taupe, the khaki, and all these nice, easy on the eyes type colors. And it's like, as soon as you see it, you recognize what that brand is. How come they're allowed to do it and I'm not? Well, I'll tell you why you're not allowed to do it. It's because you don't know what you're doing yet. You're just like copying a thing. And unless you're really good at copying, don't just copy people. The thing is, until you've figured out what your story is, you need to actually put your ideas into a deck. Write it down, put it somewhere, and use that as your North Star. Reference that as you build your brand. Reference that as you figure out how to post on social or how you're going to speak to people when you post about your brand.
Mike just mentioned the power of building a brand. And if you're a first-time entrepreneur, you may be thinking that this is something that you do in the future once you get established, once you start some sales. But to be honest, guys, it begins as soon as you secure the name for your brand. And the next best step you need to take is securing a website domain for it. And huge shout out to .store for making this video possible. .store is helping sellers establish their brand through powerful domain names and is the domain name for sellers. Now, a domain name is a link that customers click on to go to your website, and the website's ending in .store tells customer that your website is an online store and instantly associates it with selling. Now, e-commerce store using this domain include Rihanna.store and even MrBeast.store, which are both multi-million-dollar businesses. In fact, Mr. Beast ditched the usual .com for a .store because he thought it was a better fit for his online store. A website that ends in .store tells your customers right away that they're stumbled upon an online store and helps you stand out from those long and confusing website names. You should consider using a .store in order to sell more because in a unique 12-month-long study, data conclusively proved that a .store domain allowed you to sell more. Now, this study showed that websites on a .store domain got 87% more traffic because seeing a .store in a website link instantly tells users that they can buy from you, which means more traffic, more sales, and leads to more money in your bank account. Now, an online store on a .store domain also gets double the visibility. And if all this were not enough, you also get 12% lesser cost per conversion when you're running ads. It's almost like it pays to be on a .store domain. Now you can grab your store domain from Shopify, Namecheap, GoDaddy, or you can head to the link in the description and use my coupon code to snag your store domain name for just 99 cents for the first year. Now head on over to the link in the description and use code JSTORE at checkout to get this offer. And once you've got a store domain, I've worked with the team there to cook up some amazing discounts for you that we put together in a starter pack. Now anyone can access the deals we put together for free, but by owning a store domain name, you get higher, more exclusive discounts to essential services such as Suna, MailChimp, Vistaprint, and many others. And now that you know about these discounts, let's head back to the video. Now Mike will be discussing the importance that photography plays in branding later on in this video, but make sure you take advantage of all the offers that we mentioned through the links in the description down below.
The next point is that you need to plan your collections carefully. If you launch with one design, you don't look like a real brand. A lot of people say, well, I see other designers do it. The thing is, without hype behind you and the right marketing, it doesn't work. A lot of these people might have something running for them, or they had one piece that ended up on an artist, or it just blew up on social media, and you can keep dropping that product over and over and over. You could switch it into something slightly different and just drop that one t-shirt and people would buy it. There's hype. If you have no hype, you have to build it. And if you can't build the hype, then you need to build something meaningful. All right, so you've probably been designing for a while now. You have so many designs banked up. Maybe you got like 20 of them, 30 of them, and you're like, I'm just gonna drop all of this. Pull the trigger, go for it. But the thing is, you should put some thought into your stories. You should weave it. Maybe certain pieces that you designed was a part of your life that meant something to you, or it was a dark time in your life. Maybe another part of it you were designing and those words really mean something about transitioning into more adventurous, something for the plot, you know what I'm saying? It's like, find those pieces to glue your ideas together. And the cool thing is, let's say you had 30 designs, you can split those into like 15, 15, maybe it's 10, 5, and 20. I don't know if I'm doing the math right, but if you're splitting these up, you can actually tell a story. And you can do that and lead your consumers or your customers into an adventure, into a story, into an experience that you had. And the thing is, you know that if you're telling a story from your prism, from your perspective, and if you're telling it authentically, somebody in the world has that same experience as you. And when you find that real story, that authentic you, and you put it into your designs, that's how you find the other authentic people who are looking for that same connection. By splitting your design into smaller collections, it gives you the ability to weave your collections together and think ahead. And thinking ahead is so important because you can plan your shoots ahead of time and literally transition from certain ideas with colors or textures or perspectives. Like, you know, maybe at a time when you were doing bad, the camera angles are all high and looking down, and then now you're switching and then looking up at someone who's grown, right? These are little ideas that you can switch into your marketing and your campaigns that would be so meaningful on an artistic level and just from a storytelling perspective. If you want to add depth to your story, diversify your collection. It means you should not just have all one product or 2 or 3 products. Unless you're doing a very small collection and you want to keep it tight, if you want to be able to tell a story, it helps to have a different piece from each of the silhouettes, maybe picking 3 or 4 that make sense. Let's say you're doing something toward wintertime. You want to have a long sleeve, a hoodie, a jacket, and then something like, let's do something random, let's do hand warmers. Maybe you want to do gloves instead, but we're looking at something wintry and then we want to direct it towards snowboarding, which is something I like to do. So I want to be able to be in that lifestyle and find that experience that I like, and then pick out the little things that I was doing during that adventure and be like, all right, I'm gonna create something for that because there wasn't something that I liked. So for me, there's these little hand warmers, right? And it's like Supreme will do that, which is the reason why there are crazy ass brand partnerships. Like you'll see them make espresso cups or a lighter holder or like bubbles, because they'll just team up with the right companies that are already doing these things. But it's just like, I can be a part of that adventure now in my own way. So if I was doing something for, let's say, Noir Monday, if y'all know, you know, I might make some hand warmers, but instead of being red like they are, I'm gonna make them all black. And having that experience, maybe something that's nice to the touch when my hands are cold, and understanding that it's harder to open certain types of packaging, I want that experience in the morning when I show up to the mountains to be very fun and comfortable for me. And to be able to do things like this, you need mood boards. You need to figure out what your lifestyle is. And to do that, collect photos, collect things that add to the idea. You have to be able to show it visually, because if you speak on these things, you need to be able to translate that for someone to see. I could tell you right now that I want a photo of a mountain, but what does that mean to somebody else? They could be seeing a green mountain, I could be seeing a blue mountain, and like, it could be an icy mountain, right? Like, what are you seeing? What are you feeling? You need to be able to put those into words and then visual representations so that someone will look at something and know what you want and not just say, bet, I got you, and then show up with the wrong thing. Everything that you do needs to be able to be translated. You need to be able to translate that into something visual and easy to understand. Oh, you know what I don't understand is bad photography. Okay, last time we made a video, we had a lot of people coming out the woodwork. Some people were mad, some people admitted to it. We're talking about the infamous train track photos. We're talking about the pretty girl in front of graffiti wall photos. We're talking about the beginner people who just started making brands and think, I need to just go shoot something. I'm not gonna lie, we've all done it. I'm not mad at you, we just do that. I don't even know what it is or how we all ended up having that same experience. Maybe none of us are special, but I've connected with so many people on that same exact topic. But let's get on to the positive things. It doesn't matter what you do as long as you have intention behind it. Now, social media has created a huge rift in marketing, right? We have all these things that are supposed to be very raw and authentic. TikTok and Instagram have allowed you to bypass having super high quality photography to be able to sell your product. In fact, it has actually switched to having low quality. The iPhone photos can sell a product for you. An iPhone app can actually cut off or clip out your photos to be able to put that into your feed and just sell that shirt. And that is actually amazing. But what I want to talk about is the issue that presents is it's not a substitute to what goes onto your website. If you're on social media, your whole thing is about transparency and talking about you as a creator, and that's why your brand is something that should be bought and should be loved and adored. And it's not about the quality, right? On your website, banners and lookbooks are the space for you to sell the image. Quality increases trust. That's where all the fun happens. And having an iPhone photo there is not gonna be the same as it is on social. So these two things are separate. Don't get that confused. That's what I'm talking about. Not that you can't have low quality photos. It's just a time and place for everything. And honestly, that's a problem that you can attack later on. It doesn't have to be now, right? Because if you're not gonna be going big and doing billboards and all this yet, it doesn't matter. You should just be working with what you have and being creative and having fun. I think that's what it's all about, but just be intentional. That's what I'm talking about. For example, it's content day. We're going out, we're gonna shoot. But what you need to do is not skip on what you're trying to do. You do, but you have to try. And what does that mean? One of two things. Your apparel is gonna be the main focus, so you're gonna take a photo where the clothing looks good, or you're gonna be selling the lifestyle in which the surrounding of it needs to look good. Let's say, for instance, I'm doing my brand and I'm selling an article of clothing. The mountains, everything there, the lift needs to look cool. I need to not have a bunch of extra people. My thing that I'm doing should be the vibe. It should feel good. It should feel like I wanna be there. I should feel like I wanna be that person maybe. And if I'm selling the clothes, I shouldn't be seeing too much of that. Sometimes you can, but if I don't know that your clothes is the main focus, you're not gonna be able to sell the clothing, right? And just having that intention, whether I'm selling the clothes today or selling the lifestyle. And if you're gonna do a bit of both, understand that's what you're doing and set aside time for both. Having intention is so key. Storytelling is everything. So the story I'm trying to tell you is that a lot of brands will launch and then they have bad marketing, and this will slow your growth, or even worse, it's gonna kill your brand. At my agency, Proper Worldwide, what we like to preach is connection over promotion. Nobody wants to be sold to, nobody wants to be talked at, right? We want to feel like we're a part of something. And so it's about the story and the connection. Posting your shirt every day and telling people to buy it is not connecting with people. There should be something behind your caption or something behind the clothing that really speaks to people. Knowing what your brand is can help you skip all that shit. What do I mean by that? Let's be honest. If you're a trendy cash grab brand, like, I don't know, we were talking about Money Boys in the last thing. And also if you have a brand called Money Boys, I don't mean no shade by this. That was just the first thing I thought of. Stop lying to yourself. Just understand that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to make money really fast. There's not a lot of depth and meaning to your brand, but there is a lifestyle. There is a need for it. So do that. Be fearless. Do whatever you want to do that feels like that, because people who are Money Boys, we live fast, die young, right? That should be the motto if that's your brand. You're moving forward. You're going to do exactly what you need to do. Take all the photos you want. Who cares if somebody says that's not high quality or whatever? Be you, be fearless. Understand that it's about the feeling, right? But on the opposite side, if you got a brand that you want to last for decades, you're not gonna be moving the same way. So don't lie to yourself, don't lie to your consumers. And you gotta be intentional. And what that means is you have to be cautious with how you present yourself, okay? But don't let that stop you from doing things. Remember, there's a difference between cautious and being scared. When you're scared, it can kind of lead you into doing nothing. It can freeze you in fear, but you can't let the fear control you. So don't let this video discourage you from doing what you want to do or what you actually love to do. You came onto YouTube because you're looking for answers and there's this guy who's just on everything. I do have some solutions, but it's up to you to look at the information and intake what you can and then filter through what you need and what you don't need. If somebody's setting you back, set the aside. If somebody's putting you up, put it on the board. Let's do this, right? What I'm saying is that there are exceptions to every case and every rule. As an artist, you have to trust your own intuition. And if things don't work out down the road, you have to be open to change and trying new things. Test out, double down on what's working, and keep telling your story.
Powerful words of wisdom from the man Mike right now. And if you're watching this, you're gonna be better off than 99% of the brands in the market, guys. I can guarantee you that because this guy really knows what he's talking about. But one of the key reasons why brands fail is because they fail to get results and see progress. And psychologists recommend that you need to be able to visually see the progress that you're making. Because let's face it, guys, it's not gonna be the monetary success right out the gate. Starting a clothing brand is gonna be a process. It's something that you need to continually do day after day. And if you're making the right progress to getting to your goals, then you're gonna start seeing that bank account start to grow, and compound just like interest does. And in order to keep your interest in this business and be able to continue to sustain it day after day, week after week, month after month, you need to be able to visually track the progress that you're making. Because a checklist is just one thing that is like, okay, cool, I got that done, I got this done. That doesn't necessarily keep you motivated. So in order to stay motivated, you need to keep track of the right metrics. Metrics such as how many website visitors are you getting per day? Has this been growing? Is this stayed the same? Is it declining? And if it is growing, what is getting you that traffic? Is it the Instagram reels that you're producing? Is it the blog post? Is it some of the influencers you're working with? Wherever that traffic's coming, you need to identify it and then you need to be able to double down on it. Because once you start doubling down on what works, it's essentially gonna be compounding and that success and that money will soon follow. But oftentimes entrepreneurs are too busy or they're too scattered and they don't necessarily put together the key metrics that your business needs to have, which includes traffic and includes conversions. Now, in order to get traffic, you need to create promotions. But in order to get conversions, you need to have the right tools implemented. And this is really where email marketing comes into play. Now, email marketing, to be honest, guys, is one of the most underrated tools in e-commerce right now. I think a lot of times people are just thinking about, running paid ads and social media influencers and all that they completely forget that email marketing is free to use and it actually pays you dividends. What I mean by this is that by establishing the correct email flow, you can capture leads from the traffic that you're sending to your store. Once those leads are captured, you're able to sell to them consistently. Literally, they sign up for something, they get a little discount. Some of those people will redeem it, some won't. But at the end of the day, it's about you being able to put your brand in front of them daily. The more emails you can send out, the higher the frequency of your purchases are gonna be, which essentially translates to higher conversion, better conversion, and more money in your bank account. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this, guys, is because it's definitely the most overlooked part of e-commerce. So I wanna show you guys a tool, in my opinion, is really changing the game, and they also made this video possible. But the reason I decided to work with them is because they started with a pop-up opt-in form that was super interesting to me. And it's something that we've implemented on our stores. But that pop-up form essentially allows you to start converting the traffic that you're getting to your store into leads that you can market to on autopilot. So let's set up this flow real quickly so you guys can see the power of this. Through Get Site Control, you're able to quickly capture emails and start sending campaigns to be in touch with your customers. So to get started, we're gonna head on over to the Shopify App Store. Get Site Control works perfectly with Shopify, and they also have some other integrations so you can use them on all kinds of different platforms. But for the purpose of this video, Shopify is the easiest place for you to really get started. Now, once you install it to the store, it's gonna ask you for some permissions, and then you're going to essentially pick a plan. Now, you could do a yearly or you could do a monthly. Now, once you're in the plan, what essentially is gonna ask you is that it's gonna give you a one-time discount for emails. Now this is really where the difference between the other platforms and Get Site Control comes into play. And it could be a little confusing, to be honest. But the main thing is that you're essentially gonna be paying for the emails that you're gonna send. Now the reason why this has some value here, this is the confusing part with email marketing, is that if you were to have, let's say, 10,000 people, right? If you had 10,000 people that you wanted to email, you would automatically be paying a certain tier with the other platforms, which means that it's more expensive to host 10,000 emails. That's really the difference of Get Site Control, is that they're not charging you to host any emails. So if you just want to have your emails here, periodically send them to certain lists, you're able to do that. And you don't have to pay a monthly fee that's like crazy to send emails. You have a monthly hosting fee that's pretty low cost that we just showed. It starts at $7. But then as you start to grow your list, you can pay for the emails that you need to send. So that's a big difference between all the other platforms. So if you're just getting started, it is a great deal. The dashboard is essentially broken up into widgets, into broadcasts, and into automations. Now this can be a lot up front, so let me walk you guys through it. If you're just starting your store, the very first thing you need to create is essentially a form, or you need to integrate Get Site Control into a form that comes up on your website, so then you can capture the email like we mentioned. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna start with setting up the widget. Now, once you select setting up the widget, it's essentially gonna take you to, you can start one from scratch, you could pre-make one, or you can just go full control with whatever you need. They give you a lot of different options here, a lot of different layouts of however you wanna display it on your website. It pretty much gives you the options to do that. Now what's really cool is that once you pick one, it's a simple click and edit. So they do have a lot of drag and drop type of edits here, making it seamless for you to get started. Make sure you're very selective with which images are gonna be populating here. So if you don't have good images, leave it text-based, leave it very font-based design. If you have some images, you could drop them in here, like in this example, I'm dropping in one of the Street Crafter ones here. And once we change to a mobile format, what you're gonna see is that it's gonna change, so you gotta update your imagery there too. Once you have that form, you're able to choose your brand colors. And again, this is why it's important to kind of have some of these details down, because these details will then get embedded throughout your website, which will essentially create your overall branding. Now, once you have this form set up, essentially what's gonna happen is it gives you the options to display the widget based on actions people are taking or not taking on your site. And that's what's really cool about Get Site Control, is that they're giving you control of your site. So if you want to display the widget when somebody has something in their cart, let's say they have something at checkout and they're hesitant on checking out, you can display a widget that then tells them like, hey, use this code to get X% off, or buy this and get this free. You can start to really create these very timed action-based results. They give you a lot of different things here, a lot of different features. Now, once you're done with your targeting and how your widget's gonna be set up, you're essentially just gonna map some fields here, hit save, and now your widget is ready to go. And once it's live, you'll see that it pops up on the form whenever somebody lands on your site. Once you got your form set up and customers are starting to register, you're able to send broadcasts. And broadcast is how you're gonna get your message out, whether it's a promotion or an update on your status. So let's head on over here and create one really quickly. Now, the way that this works is they call it broadcast. Every other email platform calls it different things. Personally, this Allbird ones went a little bit better with our website that we have right now. So we're gonna choose this Allbirds template, and then we're gonna start customizing it. Now, again, this is a simple click and edit type of format. So you can update text, you can update fonts. You could really make this yours. And that's the important part about email marketing, is about just getting started. Don't put more barriers in front of you. Use a template, design it out your own, choose some brand colors with it, choose your imagery that you thought so much about. And now that we have our design, and this one is not the best, I gotta admit it myself, not the best email that we created, but it's done. And that's the important part about email campaigns, that is you're getting something, you're putting your best foot forward, but you're also putting yourself a deadline to get it done. So once you have your email done, you can select which subscribers are going to receive it. Now, in a video that I'm going to link up above, I mentioned about segmentation and why that's important in email marketing. So I definitely encourage that you check that video out. We go into detail there towards the end of that video as well. Or you could just send it to everybody. And that's the beauty about what they do, is that they make it really easy for you to just start segmenting and start sending things out. Now, as you can see here, you start with 1,000 email balance for free. But then if you want to essentially, since we have 225 emails, if we send this email, we're gonna eat up 225 of those credits. So that's how it transfers from 1 to 1. We're just sending emails when we need to send them. Guys, Get Site Control makes it super easy to get started, and they're definitely a company to look out for, because one of the things that they're also doing is interest forms. And through these interest forms, customers can essentially submit that they're interested in the product that you're designing, so you can start to build out that newsletter community, and you can start essentially building out a magazine of your brand that you're emailing to them to give them updates on where the product journey is at. Now, in case you don't know, data is the new oil of this economy. Before, we used to mine for oil in order to produce an economy, and now everybody is mining for data. So the sooner you can start building a customer list with certain interests and a niche, the sooner you can start making money. Now, I highly encourage that you check out Get Site Control through the links in the description right down below, as we linked a very special offer for everybody watching. And if you enjoyed this video, guys, make sure you follow Mike and Proper Worldwide. We linked their YouTube channel in the links down below, as well as their Instagram and some of their websites. I definitely encourage that you guys check these guys out. They're super knowledgeable in the game, and they're always willing to share their advice and tips. Now, if you want more of this, if this was a little taste and you're like, wait, now what do I do? We actually created a 2-hour masterclass. Now, this is something that we've been working on over the last 1.5 years, and we linked that video right here, where we're actually brought in some interviews and guest speakers that have brands that sell millions of dollars on e-commerce and are building brands and custom products. Check out that powerful exclusive interview here, and make sure you subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you there.